Welcome to another video on the Longevity Strength Coach channel. This video aims to challenge the way that you currently may think about flexibility and mobility training as you start to get on a little bit. I really want to challenge your current mentality on this, your current outlook, in order to achieve maximum productivity in all of your future training sessions. And I hope that this mindset shift will reduce a lot of pain. For those of you that just jumped on the channel, my name's Paul Green. I'm a former British paratrooper and Special Forces Support Group operator. Most of my time in the past decade, I've been training some of the most elite men across the military, including those in the RAF, the Royal Marines and the Parachute Regiment. Because of the extreme job roles, the extreme demands placed on these gents, it's very important that we get the other side of the coin correct to ensure that they can continue this ridiculously high output. And I want to share that with you as well. If people don't get this right, their posture breaks down, their joints break down, their muscles they just lose all mobility. It's like 20 or 30-year-old lads. They have the body of like a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old because they've been doing all this crazy stuff for like a decade. So it's important that they look after themselves to improve the amount of time in which they can do their job, do you know what I mean? Or their passions. So that was me in a past life. Now I'm full-time online and I run the Longevity program, which is a laser-focused strength and conditioning service for men over the age of 40. Anyway, the plan for today is flexibility, methods and mindset. The current methods, do you know what I mean? What you see commonly today. Mobility, methods and mindset, the difference between the both of them. Some examples of how you can make some adjustments, and where most men that are doing crazy stuff get this wrong. So I'm going to cover quite a lot, and I reckon this video is going to take just over 20 minutes. Passionate subject of mine. I definitely will delve deeper in certain areas. So hopefully you appreciate that. Before I get into the next slide, I'm just going to rattle off Grok's definition of flexibility and mobility. Flexibility and mobility are two key components in physical fitness that are often used interchangeably. Grok says often interchangeably. However, I disagree on that. People that train flexibility don't often train mobility or intentionally train mobility, but they refer to different aspects of movement. Flexibility is muscles and connective tissues like ligaments and tendons. They stretch or lengthen temporarily. It is about range of motion around the joint or a series of joints without causing pain. The importance, good flexibility can help prevent injuries, reduce muscle tension, improve posture, enhance overall movement and efficiency. It is often associated with activities like yoga, stretching, yoga and Pilates. I'll go on to mobility now. Mobility is about how freely and easily a joint can move through its full range of motion. It encompasses not just the flexibility of the muscles, but also the strength, the coordination and the stability of the joint itself. Mobility includes the control of the movement through the full range of motion. The importance of mobility is crucial for performing daily activities with ease, executing sporting movements effectively or efficiently, and preventing injuries due to restricted motion. It affects how you move in all aspects of life, from simple actions like bending over, tie your shoes, and complex athletic movements. So hopefully I've given you a little bit of a wake-up call with regards to that. And now we're going to get straight into it. So flexibility training, think muscles. Current popular methods, stretching, yoga, Pilates. A lot of men, when they're 40, 50, 60-year-old, they will do a little bit of stretching before they train. They will do a little bit of stretching after they train. What I've seen with this is people often get a lot of short-term relief from stretching, from flexibility training, doing the odd yoga pose, short-term relief. But you've got to ask yourself, you've been doing it probably 10, 20 years. How much more mobile have you got? Do Do you know what I mean? Literally, this video is aiming to challenge this mentality. Yoga is not the be-all and end-all, and I will go into why it isn't. So flexibility training will not directly improve your mobility, but mobility training will directly improve your flexibility. A lot of people do stretching, and I'll go a little bit further into it now. So why do you think flexibility training is popular, especially yoga, Pilates and stuff like that? The main reason why it's popular is because it's so accessible. You can do it in your front room, you can do it in your garden. You only need like a mat, and sometimes you don't even need a mat. Just your body weight and then a routine or a video or whatever. The reason why there is some logic behind it actually working to achieve better flexibility is because these poses and these stretches stretch out your muscles. But you could say that it actually has your muscle at a lengthened position working isometrically. So you are going to gain a minute level of strength. The problem is when you really enter the rabbit hole of yoga and stuff like that, and you do all the breath work and embrace all the spirituality side of it as well, this can be a real problem, because as you become more passive through these poses and get more experienced, and these moves, they start to build real hardcore like hypermobility, it's called. It's where the muscles stop working together and they stop, one muscle tightens where the other extends, and that just happens vice versa. The problem is the joints become that mobile that doesn't happen, and you then become extremely mobile at the end range, and it becomes a real risk because you're not necessarily strong at that end range. Remember, a lot of these methods are body weight, so the only strength you gain is body weight, which is that really absolutely awesome. It's a very useful tool if you do it with other things, which I'm going to go into. Click, click. So with mobility training, think joints. And a lot of people I see think joints, but do yoga. And I'm like, they care more about how their joints are operating at 40, 50, 60 and beyond, but they do yoga. And I'm like, right, this is an education problem, or it might be an accessibility problem. Anyway, my channel aims to challenge that and get you on the right track. So the emphasis moves away from the muscles with regards to your mentality, your approach, and the focus turns onto the joints. There is a lot of muscles in the body. There is way less joints. So it's a very, very effective way of just simplifying all of these crazy words. And a good way to go about this is establishing a fundamental level of joint strength. And what I mean by joint strength is finding out how and how far your joints can move, I keep saying move with a TH, doing my head in, move through its entire range of motion. How far, through what movements it can do so. After you do that, then that's not good enough, because this gives you the joint strength, this gives you a hugely reduced risk of joint injury, right? Huge green tick. However, you then need to progress that onto building joint resilience. Now you need to put extra demands on the joints, obviously very safely as possible, to ensure that your joints aren't just strong, they are resilient, and the chances of any reoccurring injuries are very low. And after that, you can then start to train athleticism in a safe manner. Now you're probably looking at me, some of you is 47, I've seen a lot of the comments recently, 47, 48-year-old, halfway there most of yous, right? And the thought of training athleticism, I think I've spelt that terribly, makes you probably laugh your head off. But trust me, if you follow this process, it's a smooth process, which brings me on to my longevity program pathway. while I'm here, might as well try and make some money, right? Longevity program pathway, it's a 36-week cycle and starts with a fundamentals block, 12 weeks, resilience block, 12 weeks, athleticism, 12 weeks. And the fundamentals block is where we lay the foundations. We establish where you're currently moving through, the most boring movements, however, the most effective movements. Strength training movements. We get you fully off on your way with tempo, intensity, and execution through strength training movements. And then we progress it onto resilience, where we add more strength, we add agility, we add high intensity interval training, and we add explosive strength. Then we go on to athleticism, where we sharpen the tools and we focus mainly on power and speed. It's a glorious thing. If you're interested, you know where to find out more information. So we deeper dive into mobility training. If you cannot get into certain positions to train, and this is something I see in the gym all the time, people will do an exercise in which they think is a good exercise, which isn't really serving them really well because of their reluctance to regress that exercise to get a full range of motion, to get into deeper ranges of motion. And this is exceptionally common as men get older. They get older, they become reluctant to do this. They avoid deep ranges of motion. And that's a real problem, because if you don't enter deep ranges of motion, you will lose them joints. Them joints will become redundant. You need to work them. You know when you heard about tendons and ligaments and stuff like that having poor blood flow, you can't really improve the strength of your joints, the strength of your ligaments and tendons. It's bullshit. You can. It just takes a hell of a lot longer to do so. Muscles, higher blood flow, you can improve the strength of them because the nutrient pathway is a way quicker transportation system to the muscles. It's way slower with the tendons and ligaments, but that's not to say you can't improve the strength of them. It's bollocks. There's certain muscles that have low blood flow. There's certain muscles that have low blood flow and certain muscles that have high blood flow. Blood flow is very important, right? If you understand blood flow and certain ligaments, then you will understand that muscle, that ligament, will be easier to get stronger. Do you know what I mean? Because it needs the blood flow to get stronger. For example, your LCL, the outside of your knee, has a very low blood flow. What low blood flow means is low pain, but it will take a long time to recover. However, the inside of your knee, high blood flow, high pain. So this whole video, I didn't really expect to be mentioning pain on this, but it's a real good way of understanding blood flow, and blood flow is not a bad thing. Now, people take anti-inflammatory medication to reduce blood flow. Mental. Honestly, absolutely mental. So, didn't really expect to go down the blood flow rabbit hole, but don't be scared of blood flow. Don't be scared of inflammation, because in a gym, we are in control of all of the variables, especially for those of you on the longevity program. We are training with almost perfect execution. We're training intensely, and we are training when we are considerate of the tempo of each repetition. Now, for those of you that aren't on a longevity program, this is absolute gold dust, right? Because it's important that you find a way to make the exercises that you're currently doing easier until you can reach full range of motion. I'm going to show you some exercises now and ways in which you can regress exercises to train your joints in a better, more effective manner. It's important that with this and with this, so this is the baseline of technique essentially. Tempo is you're going slowly, so it's more safe. And then that gives you the confidence to train fucking hard, because years and years and years of people saying to you, you can't do that, you're 50-year-old, you can't do that, you're 65-year-old. Fucking hell. Well, you won't do that if you keep listening to them. Anyway, let's back out of this. Give it a click, and we'll go on to some videos. So, an exercise in which I use to improve the mobility of my knees, hamstrings, and hips. So rather than doing a downward dog pause, I will do a Smith machine RDL, where I'm training my hamstrings at a really, really productive lengthened position. Does that make sense? And the reason this is better than doing a downward dog is I am working all three muscle contractions here. I'm working the eccentric muscle contraction on the way down, which is going to get me more size and strength. I work the isometric contraction when I pause at the bottom for a split second, and I work the shortening when I come back up. I'm getting 3 times more benefit than people that are doing a downward dog. And I can load it every week. I can add weight and get stronger and keep getting stronger. And it's not just my muscles that are getting stronger in this. The hamstring, especially the hamstring when I'm training on this, is the top part of the hamstring that connects over the glutes. Getting strong hips from this as well, and it works the hamstring at the bottom part of the knee, especially when I'm all the way down, absolutely dangling. So there's an example, right? Rather than doing a normal deadlift, do one that challenges your mobility levels. Don't be shy of challenging your end ranges. That exercise is absolutely unbelievable, and I would argue that it's the best way to challenge your hamstring flexibility and mobility. Does that make sense? Getting a bit passionate here, geezers. Anyway, dips. So now we think about the chest and the shoulders. I'm going slowly on the way down, tempo. I pause at the bottom, which is isometric strength. And I'm back up. Yeah, guarantee I'm only doing body weight, but I'm trying to get as far down as possible. I'm trying to develop the flexibility of my front delts. Sorry, my shoulders. The mobility of my shoulders, sorry. Get muddled up all these words. Do my head in. Anyway. Think of these movements. A movement in yoga which would challenge the same level of mobility would be something like a child pose. I don't know, all I'm saying is that every time you go to the gym, yes, granted the gym is less accessible for some of us, but every time you go to the gym and you do a movement like this, you get 3 times more mobility benefits. You get strong, your joints get strong, you gain muscle size, and you get mobile. That was 4. Anyway, another one. If you can't do a squat, if you can't do a full range of motion squat, then get yourself on the Smith machine, put your feet further forward. Now I can go all the way down. Now I can strengthen my knees, and now I can improve the mobility of my knees through a full range of motion. I'm now getting stronger because my knees, the bottoms of my quads, have to work to get me out of that end range. The bottom parts of my quads are controlling my descent into the end range. I pause at the bottom, so I'm banking strength at the end range. I'm ticking all the right boxes. This is a phenomenal exercise. I prefer this exercise to a normal back squat because I'm guaranteed to get into the end range. I'm not putting any extra stress on my lower back. Do you know what I mean? So don't be shy in making exercises easier to improve the strength of your joints. Last one. So mobility of your shoulders again. A lot of you have absolutely tight shoulders, crusty. Get yourself on the bar, hang. However, hanging simply isn't enough. You may as well strengthen as well. Controlling the negative. Hold at the bottom, sink right down. If this is too hard for you, get a resistance band around the bar. Tie it around your feet to get you up. Everybody starts somewhere. Does that make sense? So all of these exercises have full range of motion flowing through their veins to allow me to get strong and to get more flexible. You don't get stronger when you're doing yoga and all the traditional methods and stretching. Get rid. Have I missed anything? So tempo, on the fundamentals block, I tell the lads, 3 seconds on the way down, a 1 second pause at the deepest position that they can currently get to, and then 1 second to return back to the top. Intensity, they build up to 90-95% intensity, and the execution, I instill in their mindset, they should aspire to have close to perfect technique. Obviously, perfect is a subjective word. So these 3 words are flowing through the longevity program. What else am I going to give you? I was thinking about another thing there. It was really, really good as well. Anyway, never mind. This is the most common thing I see, right? And this is the hardest thing, lads. Honestly, this is the hardest thing to overcome. When you do this stuff, when you're a martial artist, you're a rock climber, skydiver, free runner, kayaker, skier, surfer, wakeboarder, that activity, that way to spend your time developing your skills through them disciplines is one of the most enjoyable things you ever do in your lives. So there's certain ways you would want to develop your flexibility to benefit your rock climbing, for example, to get better in better positions and be able to do certain more advanced moves on the cracks. For a martial artist, maybe improving your mobility so you have a better head kicks, or you have a better guard on the mats. Skydivers, you may want to improve your shoulder mobility so you have better control when you're descending through the sky. Free runners, you might need better mobility so then you can improve your jumps, or you improve your ability to land from height. Other stuff like this, right? But the problem is people will do stretching and they will go straight back to this. They don't bridge the gap, and the gap is this. They don't effectively strength train. A lot of them don't effectively strength train, and it's very hard to effectively strength train when you have got this knocking on your door. Yeah, you do your stretching at home and stuff like that, great. But you go back to this when you haven't developed your strength, which leads to all sorts of reoccurring injuries. So this is my recommendation, lads. Effective strength training through a full range of motion. Does that make sense? I said just over 20 minutes. I'm on track. I'm getting better with my time management, and I'm happy with that. Summary. Yoga and the likes are extremely dangerous if you do not get the end ranges strong. And like I talked about with my Smith machine deadlift, that sole purpose of that exercise to get my end ranges strong. And trust me, if you're strengthening your muscles in a lengthened position, more often than not, then muscles will improve in size. Now, that's a consideration if you need to stay light. For example, rock climbers at the elite level need to stay light. Certain grapplers, certain martial artists, free runners, they want to stay light. So it is a consideration, and there's ways around this. If you want to stay light, just go less slowly on the way down in the gym, and that will alleviate a lot of your muscle gain. Trust me. And if you want to get stronger, and if you want to improve your muscle size, then obviously protein intake is a massively important thing. But you just increase the amount of time in which you are descending on these repetitions in the gym with technique like I've showed. Effective strength training with a full range of motion will reduce pain. There's studies on this. There's studies on my channel. There is a study that says chronic arthritis gets reduced by 44%. Knee chronic arthritis gets reduced by 44% with a 12-week training program. But adding the resilience stuff in there as well, and then going back to your sport. Honestly, it's so hard to get yourself back in the gym when you would rather spend your time doing your thing. I get it, but I will keep beating the drum. I'll keep repeating myself, and I will keep serving the lunatics that need it. And obviously, to allow you to do more without issues. If you're skydiving every day of the week, your back is going to be fucked, your core is going to be fucked, your shoulders are going to be fucked. Now, if you reduced your skydiving by 2 or 3 times a week to do all this stuff, you're going to add 10 years extra onto your skydiving careers. Anyway, point made, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. Just short of 25 minutes. Hopefully you found it useful. See you tomorrow.